Get ready. I am really excited to have the opportunity to present our keynote speaker for this evening. He has been a great friend and good brother to all of us. Woody Paige is our keynote speaker this evening. Many of you know Woody from his work on ESPN, but I want to share a little bit more about his background before we bring him up. Woody was born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee, educated at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, where in 1964 he was invited to pledge Lambda Chi Alpha and was initiated later that year. Woody has worked as a journalist for the Knoxville Journal, the Memphis Commercial Appeal, the Rocky Mountain News, the Denver Post, where he recently retired after 35 years, and then began working at the Colorado Springs Gazette the following Monday. But if you haven't read his column from last Sunday's Denver Post, I encourage you to go take a look at it. He has been a radio talk show host for over 20 years, a former TV basketball analyst. He has appeared on The Today Show, Good Morning America, Fox Sports Net, The Bill O'Reilly Show. He has twice been named the Washington Journalist Review as one of the top 100 journalists in the country. He's won more than 100 awards, including our own Order of Achievement. He was voted the top sports columnist in Colorado. He was part of the Pulitzer Prize award-winning team for the reports on the Columbine shooting. He was named the Jim Murray Foundation Journalist Hall of Fame, and most of you know him from his work on ESPN's Around the Horn. He has covered 30 Super Bowls, 25 Masters, US Opens, British Opens, PGA Championships, 13 Olympics. He suggested that he might be heading to Rio, and he's been involved with more than 24 charitable events annually. Just an all-around good brother, entertaining, and with that, I'd introduce Epsilon Omicron 849, Woody Paige. Brother Paige.
So I wanted to start tonight with highlights of my career. So I called the vice president of ESPN and I said, would you put together a DVD of the highlights of my career? That's what I want to start with tonight. He wrote back and he said, there are no highlights of your career. So I'm sorry if you've never seen me, then good for you. I get a call a week and a half ago, and I answer the phone. I said, this is Woody Paige. Who is this? And I hear Farkas. And I'm so accustomed when I write about bad things about cities or teams that I get calls, and the first thing they say is, Farkas. So I hung up. He called back and he said, this is Bill Farkas. And I said, okay, sure. He said, you know, I know this is late, but we had our keynote speaker cancel out. We tried 15 other people. And would you be willing to do it at late notice? And I said, well, sure. I was going to go to Rio. But I really, you know, I don't like mosquitoes. It's really hot and humid in Brazil right now. There are a lot of foreign people there. So sure, I want to be here. Pardon me. I got a bunch of stuff here. So I just, during the break, I went into the Donald J. Trump bathroom. And went up to the Donald J. Trump urinal. And I don't mean to be, and this is not part of the speech, I'm going to get to that at some point. But I'm standing there, as we want to do, and a guy who's got the name tag that says Tom is standing next to me, and he goes, "You're Woody Paige." Tom, don't do that. You know. So when Bill and I finally hooked up after I realized what he was actually saying to me, I said, "Well, what should I talk about, Bill?" And he said, "Talk about 20 minutes." So I'm going to get out of the way so we can all go drinking or... Stand right there. So everybody smile and point. We're going to get the world's biggest General Assembly selfie of all of you. Wave. Not them, me. Farkas. Thank you. Good evening, my brothers of the greatest fraternity in the world, Lambda Chi Alpha. And I want to welcome especially all the ladies that put up with us, that are here this evening. I'm truly sorry that I couldn't bring any of my 3 ex-wives with me. They're all on beaches. I said beaches now. Waiting for the next alimony check. I'm going to tell you, young men, to remember this, if nothing else, from my speech tonight. Love is grand. Love is grand. Divorce is 800 grand. Can we take a moment? Daniel Miller's doing an incredible job tonight. Let's hear it for Daniel Miller. And I want to recognize a guy who's hung out with me for 2 days and has done an incredible job of getting through the traffic at the airport and helping me print this stupid speech today. When I went into the business center and there's like 18 guys there doing airline reservations, and I said, "Guys, can you help me with my speech? And you know who you are." And they said, "No, we're doing our reservations." So I called Josh. Would you stand up, Josh? There we go. I'm Woodrow Wilson Page, Jr. I'm called Woody for reasons I'd rather not discuss. You don't want to go through life being called a Woody. I'm running for president. This seemed like an appropriate setting to announce it, wouldn't you think? My goal is to build a wall around my patio. If you want to donate to my campaign, there's a bucket outside. I'm up to $6 so far. I had $8 and one of you stole 2 of it. Actually, I brought my blackboard with me. Maybe you've seen it on TV. It's more famous than me. For those of you who can't see in the back, my campaign slogan for the presidency is ban shredded cheese, make America great again. GRATE. I'm sorry, I don't want to cover up that. I'm not really running for president, but I am staying in the Arnold Palmer suite right over there. There are pictures of Arnold on every wall. I know you don't want my bathroom jokes, but I got overserved last night in the bar. And I went back to the room and I went into the bathroom and I'm standing there because I tend to do that. And there's a picture of Arnold Palmer and famous actress Linda Carter, who played Wonder Woman on TV for years. Yeah. I stared at the photo and I peed down my leg. And it wasn't because I was looking at Arnold Palmer. I got to know Arnold. I really did get to know Arnold real well, and this is a true story. I rode on his plane once. At his final appearance at the Masters, and he wouldn't mind me telling this, on the second hole, I was following Arnold Palmer around because I thought it was memorable that he was playing his final round after 42 at the Masters. And I'm walking with his fellow design course partner. And on the second hole, Arnold hit a nice drive. He had a second shot, it's a par 5. The third shot, he shanked it, and it went about 20 yards over the left. This is a true story. And so he walked over to us and he said, "Hi, Woody." And he turned to his partner and whispered something, and then went off to hit his next shot. And I leaned to his partner and I said, "Was he talking about memories of playing the Masters all those years?" And he said, "No, he was telling me we shouldn't have had the second bottle of Jack Daniels last night." And so 10 years ago, when I spoke to this group, I said there were 4 F's that were really important to me being a part of Lambda Chi. That was fellowship, fraternity, fun, and Jack Daniels. Talking about golf, I got to follow up. I sat on my deck over there because I was right behind a par 3 hole. And I got to tell you, you guys suck. I mean, I sat there and watched, and right on that par 3, I saw one of you, and you know who you are, you're back over there. Hit it into the pond twice off the tee, finally got on the green, 3-putted, and turned to the other guy, because I could hear him, he said, "Give me a 4." Talk about a bad lie. I thought we were taught not to lie. I play an idiot on ESPN. Oh. Some of you agreeing. Been on around a horn for almost 15 years since the beginning. I don't know why. The famous actor Burt Reynolds was hired by ESPN to introduce sports movies that they show on Sunday. And he said to that vice president who didn't get you any highlights because there aren't any. He said, "Is that guy as crazy as he seems on TV?" And he said, the vice president said, "Who are you talking about?" He said, "You know, the guy that plays the idiot on television." He said, "You talking about Woody Paige?" Anyway, yeah. Is he as crazy off the air as he is on? The vice president said, "We don't know." Yes, I am. I used to work with Skip Bayless, who is an asshole. Do not put that on the internet. I already have. So we did a show in New York called Cold Pizza, which became First Take, and I left because I'd had enough skip. And it kind of culminated, people always ask, tell us your funny stories. All these stories I'm actually telling you tonight are true, except that I'm not running for president. But I did have a nightmare after we drank last night. I had a nightmare that I was waking up in that bed with Donald J. Trump, Arnold Palmer, and Hillary Clinton. And Josh. Because he's been with me the whole time, so we were doing Cold Pizza, and we'd have 10 questions every day, 2-hour live show from New York. And so we as we do it around the horn, we actually prepare for the questions. It's not scripted or anything. And Jay, who was the host of the show, said, we're going to end today with a funny kind of question, kind of offbeat. Woody Golf Magazine says that 38% of men in the country would give up sex for a year if it improved their golf game by 4 strokes. Would you do that? And I said, I've given up sex a lot of years, and it's never improved my golf game. This is on live TV. And he turned to Skip and he said, what about you? Here's his answer. You could look it up on YouTube. He said, I've had 10 times as much sex as Woody. So I repeated something at that point that I can't, well, it involved animals and so I went around the table that we were sitting at, and I grabbed him by the throat, and he brought me down to the floor. And what I found interesting, because he's a lot stronger than I am and a bit younger, that we wrestled on the ground on live TV for 10 minutes, and nobody tried to pull us apart. You'd think they would have given me that highlight, wouldn't you? I'm from the great state of Colorado. Yeah, we have the Super Bowl champions, our Broncos. We have beautiful purple mountain majesty. We have 300 days of sunshine. We have the best skiing in all the world. And 5,000 people are moving to Colorado every day. It's because of all the things I said. And there's the little matter of we have legalized marijuana. You can legally buy it, and you can smoke it, and you can drink it, and you can even eat it. Brownies, cookies, and yes, even gummy bears. So you're not supposed to take it out of the state of Colorado, but I thought, in case you were ever thinking about moving there, that I'd bring some tonight. So, and here's how you do it. We have a pause in the program. I'm waiting for the drug to cut in. For you adults in the crowd, that was a joke. That was not. I got it in the Donald J. Trump minibar. And it cost $20, which is more than what it costs for the marijuana in Colorado. Enough about that. Speaking of the Broncos, though, you may have heard that Von Miller was the MVP of the Super Bowl. He was the darling of Dancing with the Stars. He's been on a world tour of Disney World, every place. He shows up at the opening of an envelope this summer. He just signed a contract that's worth more than the annual GNP of Kazakhstan. Largest contract ever for a defensive player. He's a big, tough, mean guy. If you watched the Super Bowl, I'm sure most of you did, he had 48 sacks or something. Cam Newton. Last year after game, before all of that happened, I'm on a trip with the Broncos on their charter, and we're coming back from Seattle. You can look it up. It's an exhibition game. And I'm doing a magazine story with Vaughn, and we're drinking some beer because they relax after the game, and they drink some beer, and we're eating hot dogs. And, I didn't play the game, but I was writing about it, so I can drink beer too. So we're going over the Rocky Mountains, and if you've ever flown over the Rocky Mountains, it's very, very bumpy because of the altitude and that. And so Vaughn, who had played the entire game, fell asleep. And I continued to drink a little beer. And I threw up. And I threw up all over Vaughn. And the players are laughing, and they say, as soon as he wakes up, he's going to beat you up and throw you out of the airplane. So I went back to the bathroom, and I got a bunch of paper towels and wet them, and I came back, and I'm trying to wipe Vaughn down without waking him up, and he wakes up, and he goes, "What the?" And I said, "Are you feeling better, Vaughn?" Miss that. I got. I was EO 849 at the University of Tennessee. I was the worst journalism student in the history of the school. And that's a fact because the head of the department told me that. I had 2 straight quarters of a 1.3 and a 1.1. And my father was an orphan, and he only went to 2nd grade. He was diagnosed with diabetes, and he had to spend a year in a ward, charity ward at a hospital. And so he was not well educated, and he didn't quite understand when the grades came in that I had a 1.3 and a 1.1. And he asked me what that meant, and I said, "Dad, I'm sure you'll understand this, that in college, a 1 is perfection. And each quarter, I'm getting closer to perfection." This is the same father who told me I couldn't find my butt with both hands. And I can. I guess you really don't want to see that, do you? I was a good brother, sort of, at Lambda Chi. I was a high pi or high delta. I was named pledge least likely to become an active, least likely to succeed, and that's worked out exactly like all of my brothers told me I would. I was editor of the campus newspaper, the daily newspaper. I did a local TV show on campus, and I was an all-night disc jockey, and I'm telling this story in honor of a man who told me last night he'd heard me tell this story. But it's true. When I was on a local radio show, and it was called Woody Wake Up, midnight to 6. And I would act like a disc jockey, playing those oldies but goodies, sounds from going underground. You're going all over college town. You're going to knowledge to gain that knowledge. You're going to college. And so one night I got really hungry about 3 o'clock in the morning. I called the sandwich shop down the street. And I thought, well, I got to take a little break here. So the longest song at that time, and you still hear it, was called Inagata de Vida by the Iron Butterfly. It lasted 19 minutes. That was an eternity in radio. So I put it on the album. We didn't have the CDs then. I put it on the album, the needle on the album. I rushed down the street. I went and got my sandwich. I came back. I got back about 17 and a half minutes later, and I walk into the studio, and I'm there by myself. And I hear, da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. It had been skipping for 17 minutes. And I thought at age 19, that was the end of my career. None of the listeners called in to complain. Nobody from the station complained, and I realized nobody was listening to me. My English teacher gave me an F. I said that I needed a D to avoid Vietnam. She said I had potential, and she was very disappointed in me that I didn't show up but 3 times, and that I didn't do many of the papers, I don't think any. I said, if you'll give me a D, I'll show up next quarter and I'll take your next course, and I promise you I'll show up for every class, and I will, this is a true story, I will show up for every class, and I will do every theme and every paper, and if I don't make an A, you can give me an F. She said, I don't know. I said, how about if I take you out tonight? Okay, I'm giving you a D. So I show up the next quarter and I went, oh God, oof. It wasn't. Anyway, she was gone. And I always wondered if she was so ashamed of herself. That gives you an idea of what kind of student I was. So I did get out of school. I didn't go to Vietnam, darn. And I became a newspaper reporter in my hometown of Memphis. I covered civil rights in the South. I did such an awful job, I was made a sports columnist. And here I am, almost 50 years later. I have covered every major event in the world, 42 Super Bowls now, World Series, World Cups, Wimbledon, Masters, all 6 Michael Jordan championships, Tour de France, 15 Olympics. A guy asked me yesterday, what was your favorite Olympics? And I said, Australia in 2000. How many of you have been to Australia? Okay, well, you know what I'm talking about. If you're ever planning to go to Australia, realize that it's about 21 hours. So what you do to prepare for that trip is you take a paper bag and you put it over your head and you tie it with some rope and breathe your own air for 21 hours. And then take a stick and sharpen it and stick it up your butt. And just do that. I mean, I go to Australia, I watch 3 movies, I have 4 meals, I drink 3 bottles of Jack Daniels, and we still have 16 hours to go. So this shows you that whatever I am in life, I decide, instead of going to actually an Olympic event, I want to go see where they made the Mad Max movies. If you've ever watched those, even the latest one, they made them out in the middle of the outback. And my bosses at the Denver Post said, what are you doing? I said, I want to go see kangaroos. And where they have the big chase scene at the end of Mad Max. I take 2 planes, I go to a place called Broken Hill, I get a Range Rover that's got a tank of water and a tank of gas on top, because the guy tells me I'm going out in the middle of nowhere. And I said, where do I find kangaroos? And he said, just drive down that road until you get to the ranger station. Swear this true story. Get to the ranger station, this guy dressed up as a ranger, and I said, I'm here to see kangaroos in the wild. I want to see kangaroos. And he said, I'll show you exactly where to go. I said, so you are the ranger, you protect the kangaroos? And he said, no, I kill kangaroos. I said, back in our country, forest rangers protect the forest. He said, there are twice as many kangaroos as there are people. My job is to come out here and kill kangaroos. And I said, how many you killed? 2 or 3 a day? He said, I killed 68 so far, and it's early. He said, they're rats with big rats with tails. And so I said, how do I find the kangaroos before you kill them? He said, take this loaf of bread and go down about a mile till there's this hill, and just at sunset, hold up the bread. That's it? He said, well, you say, hero, hero. And I said, is that the way they talk? He said, no, I'm saying, here, kangaroo. So I do it, and I'm standing on a hill. I'm writing a book called I Wouldn't Believe This Shit Either. swear that's the title of the book. It won't have those stars or asterisks or anything. It will say, I wouldn't believe this shit either. Forgive me if you're offended by shit. Don't go in the bathroom, the Donald J. Trump bathroom, because if you look at the toilet paper, it says on it, Donald J. Trump toilet paper. Try it if you haven't been in the room. Boy, I felt bad before I came over here tonight. Had the Donald J. Trump body wash, the Donald J. Trump. Gosh, I felt like, do you have to put your name on everything here? I'm not being political, but if he wins and he builds that wall, it's going to say the Donald J. Trump wall, won't it? Where was I? So I'm standing on the hill. Little for red. Custer didn't feel like this. Kangaroos from everywhere. Big reds, 8 feet tall, pouches, the moms with the pouches. And it kind of come in. I felt like I was in the middle of an Alfred Hitchcock movie. And I'm tossing breadcrumbs, and I went, oh, this is really kind of fun. And I'm doing this. You're not going to believe this part of the story. My cell phone rings. I'm in the middle of nowhere. You can't call me. There's no towers. There's nothing. There's a clay road where they do the Mad Max movies. I pick up the phone, and it's my friend in Denver, Tim Schmidt, and he goes, what are you doing? What? What? This is worse than Farkas. You know, this is... I said, I am up to my ass in kangaroos. No, really, are you watching Marion Jones? Are you at the track and field? I said, no, I'm surrounded by kangaroos and I got one loaf of bread. He said, are you in a bar? Are you drinking? Where? Really? Where are you? Are you at the wrestling? I went, no, I am with... He said, I'll call you back later. The kangaroos are closing in, and I'm running out of bread, and I'm backing up toward the Range Rover, and I'm going to either drink a lot of the water or drink the gasoline. I don't know which. And I get to the car, and I got 2 heels left. And I just toss them, and I get in the car, and the car's surrounded by kangaroos. And I went, well, what do I do now? Well, hell, the ranger kills kangaroos. I just back up all over him. He'll be happy. I back up, they get out of the way, and I go back to the ranger station. One of the great moments of my life. I open the door, he is laughing his ass off. He said, did you find the kangaroos? I said, why didn't you give me 2 loaves of bread? I felt like Jesus Christ out there, you know. I'm honored and humbled to speak at the 56th General Assembly, and I was told last night by Michael that he and I should speak together because I could be funny and then he could be inspirational. So this is the part where I can't be inspirational, but I'll try a little bit. I started thinking about the 56th General Assembly, and I was in school in the 60s, and so the General Assembly was held like in Tupelo, Mississippi, in a warehouse with about 18 people there, I think, when I was in school. Of course, I wasn't invited. I was in Orlando 10 years ago this weekend to accept the Order of Achievement, and the fraternity must have run out of quality candidates for a while. It was the epitome of my life. It was the highest honor I'd ever received, other than having been given the life of a daughter. And when she got her master's degree and then her doctorate, I was so proud of that, and I was so proud that my fraternity would recognize me. 3 years ago, the University of Tennessee gave me the Distinguished Alumni Award, and I was truly honored by that also as a poor kid from Memphis. we lived in what was called a shotgun house, which had 3 rooms. And I asked my mom, who died a year ago, where I lived. And she said her mother lived in the bedroom, and she and my father lived in the living room. And I said, well, where did I live? She said, you lived in the kitchen in a drawer. And I said, in a drawer? She said, we couldn't afford a baby bed, but the reason why we put you next to the stove, and you would be warmer than anybody. And I said, well, where did I go to the bathroom? She said, the Donald J. Trump outhouse, I think it was. Our house was about 200 yards from where the St. Jude Hospital now is. We lived in a government housing project. And I found it funny, I ordered room service for breakfast this morning. And at the bottom, if you've done that while you've been here, you can make a donation to St. Jude. So I made a serious donation on room service. And 2 guys came and brought the room service, and they thought it was a tip for them. And they went, that's the greatest tip we've gotten since Mr. Trump was here. St. Jude is one of the most important causes of my life, what they do for kids. I also work with the American Cancer Society. My mom and my sister died of cancer, and that's why I wear this tie. I wear a pink, or a version of a pink tie all the time. My other charity is American Diabetes Association. My father was a diabetic, my mother was a diabetic, I'm a diabetic. But reason why I bring that up is what the fraternity is doing in helping people around this country in North America with the problems that we have about food is so critically important. And I think, and I was having some fun earlier about the 4 F's, because basically I used to get nothing but 4 F's every quarter. But I mentioned that because Lambda Chi Alpha is all about brotherhood for life and service, the 3 S's, service, sacrifice, and suffering. They go together. Never forget this, supporting your brothers of the next generation who are coming along in college and those who have died for the military service, and we saw that tonight. And I mentioned, and I'm going to go back to being funny for a moment. This may not be funny, but I saw the list of those who had died, and I got tears in my eyes because they were my brothers. The first name on the list was Roy Adams, who talked me into joining Lambda Chi Alpha. He died this year, and his name was number 1 on the list. And I lost other brothers. But here's the good news. When you gather next year, there are pictures of the Order of Achievement recipients. At least I always wondered what I could get out of being a recipient of the Order of Achievement. Next year, you'll see my picture up there. We couldn't get highlights. That will be the highlight. Peyton Manning always told me, I've known him since he was a kid, I covered his father, that his priorities, 3 priorities in life were faith, family, and friends. I would add fraternity to that. My association with Lambda Chi while in college helped shape me intellectually, ethically, morally, socially, and in ways to meet the challenges of life after school. I'm indebted to this fraternity and its members and its executives and its national staff for all that I've achieved. I was a lost youth. I wasn't a very good student in college. I was so intent on becoming a writer. But what Lambda Chi did for me, I can't repay. I'm indebted and I can't pay that loan back because it shaped my life like it's shaping your life. If you are a student, if you're an alumni, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I have met so many of the alumni here who are successes in life. Why? Because of what they learned while they were in college, both academically, but in the fraternity. I talked to a young man, I won't mention his name, Josh, who told me he was introverted. And I said, I was the most introverted freshman I've ever known. I was so shy, I couldn't meet girls. I didn't really want to be in a fraternity. I was talked into it because I was afraid of meeting people. I saw young men getting up here, and that's the way I was. I couldn't talk. I just wanted to be able to sit in a corner and write somewhere. It shaped me. It fashioned me. Whatever I am today, which is not much, but it made me into something that my mother and father were proud of. My daughter's proud of me. I try to make my fraternity proud of me. I'd like to congratulate this year's Order of Achievement recipient, John C. Goff, for all of his achievements. And I really appreciate that he has the Crescent Real Estate Company because he appreciates what the fraternity did for him. He and I will follow in the hallowed steps before us, and you will follow in our steps. I should be a shining example to you. An idiot on TV can get up with a blackboard, can get up in front of you and actually achieve some things. Imagine with your talent, with your intelligence, what you can do. That should motivate you. Look around at the alums, the brothers, the older brothers that are in here, and see what they've accomplished. You can do it too. Forget Harvard. We always hear about Harvard. If you go to Harvard afterward, you got a place in business. If you will just work with the alumni, you'll find that doors open for you. I talked to a man last night. His son interned this summer, is interning with someone that was a Lambda Chi Alpha. We help each other. It's brotherhood for life, not for a year, not for 4 years. There's a reason why you're here this week, because you deeply care about this fraternity. It's on almost 200 campuses in North America, in the United States and Canada. It's a fraternity that has produced more great men. Look at that order of achievement of the men. Harry Truman, a president of the United States, all the senators, all the governors, all the successful businessmen. I am so proud after spending the last part of last evening in the bar with two of my brothers of my era. But more important than that, I spent an hour, hour and a half with Jack and Sam, which sounds like a southern grocery chain, but they're from the University of Denver. And I was so impressed. We argued and we debated about every subject, from letting and trying to attract women into a fraternity, to talking about politics, to talking about the fraternity. Jack is going to be president of his chapter this fall. Sam's going to be president of the university at the University of Denver, because he and I agree on most everything. Jack and I don't agree on anything. I ran into him in the bathroom. I can't get away from him either. But I was walking back with Michael, and he said, you know, those are intelligent young men. And he said, they disagree with you a lot. And one of them called me a hack. You know who you are, Jack. Rhymes with your name, doesn't it? Didn't even think about that. I was so impressed with them. They are prime examples of what all of you in this room are, who are students at all of the universities. Lambda Chi Alpha is a fraternity that's in great hands for the future. People talk about millennials. Millennials, this world is going to belong to you. And I think based on what the last few days I've seen, it's in great hands. ESPN told me truthfully that in their surveys that I'm the most popular commentator for young people 10 to 17. So most of you watched me when you were 10 years ago when you were a little kid, and you've moved on to more important things in life, like women. Sadly, my own chapter at the University of Tennessee was shut down early this year as a result of serious violations. It has bothered my fraternity brothers. and I've told, we talked about it. That reflected so poorly on the fraternity, on the national, on the history of people who have become members of Lambda Chi Alpha, future generations at Tennessee of students that would want to be in Lambda Chi Alpha. They have a chance to come back in 5 years. And I hope that my fraternity, we didn't care enough, we didn't do enough as alumni, we didn't see the issues they were developing, but I hope that they will take, and that the fraternity, nationally and locally, that they will see what the chapters recognized here tonight, how they were able to be the Phoenix, Lazarus, rise from near death and come back. Because we had a good fraternity there. Don't let it happen to you. Do the right thing. Think about this. Think about what your parents would think. Think about what your fraternity brothers would think. Think about what the alumni would think. Think about your university, your community. Do the right thing. Service. Sacrifice. And I'm not so good about that suffer part, but don't let young men suffer. Don't let young women suffer. Service. Sacrifice. I'd like to add another S. Service, sacrifice, strength. As you go back to school and your jobs and your lives after this incredible weekend, serve your family, your friends, your faith, your country, your community, and yes, your fraternity. Lambda Chi Alpha, the greatest fraternity in all of America. As always, thank you for a lifetime of brotherhood. God bless America. God bless my daughter. God bless all of you. God bless Lambda Chi Alpha. Thank you.
That was amazing.
Thank you.
Stay up here. Stay up here. I got just a couple of things. So,
I have something for Farkas for being here tonight.
oh, well, thank you. I had to be here.
Infomercial. If you like the Blackboard, if you ever watch it, it doesn't cost much, but it's a great gift, and it will be great in the Donald Trump bathroom. It's 2,000 of my Blackboard sayings, and we'll just open it up. You read it. Just open it to any page. This is not a magic trick. Just read a couple, and for the people who've never heard them. So there's 2,000 in there. Oh, you don't have your glasses.
Oh, are those your glasses? Here.
Even your poker face is ugly.
Hey, that's not nice.
I do my own nude scenes. My nickname is Justin. Justin Incredible.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Keep watching, I might do a good trick. I want patience, and I want it now. And if I'm two-faced, would I walk around with this face?
That's right.
I'd like to present this to Bill.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You donating to my campaign? Is that what?
Wait, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. It was a little over 10 years ago that we presented Woody with the Order of Achievement, which he promptly left in his hotel room in Orlando. So then in 2009, we asked him to MC the final banquet of the centennial, and we gave it to him a second time, and he left it in his hotel room. So about a year and a half ago, he was asked to speak by the Wabash chapter at their dinner, and he was kind enough to come and speak to Alpha Kappa Zeta, and we presented it to him again, and if you forgot it, I think you
Oh, I took it home.
or
I
at
lost
least
it.
you disposed. Yeah. So we don't have an order of achievement to present him for a fourth time. So the other day when he arrived, he said, I was wearing a Lambda Chi polo, and he said, I want a Lambda Chi polo. And I thought, well, we can take care of that fairly easily. So there is a Lambda Chi Alpha polo.
Put it on now.
I don't know.
I'll wait.
You'll wait. Thank you.
It's not pretty.
Woody, thank you so much.
Thank you all. Is that good?